Hello, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective, the podcast with subject matter experts in marketing. So, how is marketing and advertising changing today? What does this mean for your brand looking into the future? Are you shifting more dollars into digital or TV, SEO or email? What research are you doing to look at what brands across the world are doing in order to grow? Colin Colburn is an analyst with Forrester, one of the most influential research and advisory firms in the world, and he's a subject matter expert on research focused on paid search, SEO, Amazon advertising, and voice. And on this episode, we'll discuss how search is changing, how advertising is being driven differently by some of these channels, how companies are looking at search engine optimization, Amazon, Pinterest, TV, Google, LiveRamp, Bing, and yes, even a little Yahoo. So let's tune in to an influential researcher with an influential shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Colin, thank you so much for joining me today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would, tell us a little bit about your career to date, your background, and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Kenneth.
Of course.
My background actually did not start in marketing. After I graduated from college, I went to work at GE Capital, where I did risk financial management for about a year, basically sizing up the overall risk that GE was at from all the loans and all the businesses that they were in. I ended up meeting someone that worked at Forrester at the time and told me about all the work that Forrester did, and it seemed really interesting to me. It kind of piqued my interest, and before you knew it, I was over here at Forrester, and I've been here for a little over 6 years now.
Wow.
Doing research and studying the marketing space, specifically around search marketing has been my primary focus. So SEO and paid search, helping major enterprise companies with both those tactics, both those strategies, and then have built out two other areas of research that we hadn't really been covering because they're sort of newer. One being around Amazon advertising, and the other around voice search, how customers are using Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, etc. to search and find information. So that's kind of where my career has taken me in that period of time, going from something that was kind of boring in risk financial management to now helping some of the best and greatest brands with their own marketing strategies.
Well, in this newer one, Amazon, who are they? I've never heard of them. Yeah, funny.
Man, they were once a small book company.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you just take a look at the last 6 years of research and what you've seen at a high level, how have you seen, the search space, especially with paid search and SEO and acquisition strategies around that high level? What have you seen as a change?
I think the big change when it relates to search is that more customers, more consumers are using a variety of search channels. That's sort of the number one change I think that has happened, in large part because of the proliferation of mobile. But I think it's more around just options that consumers have.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean there is, if you go back like over 6 years ago, the primary place that everyone went to find anything, to get any answer to a question, or just be able to learn more information about something, was Google. And that's not necessarily gone away. Google is still the dominant player in the search engine space. But what's happened is there's more channels, platforms, services that a consumer can use now to find information that is relevant to the problem that they're trying to find a solution for, or whatever the case may be. And that's why Amazon has grown so much in the advertising space, is that for products, people turn to Amazon more commonly than they do to search engines. You can say the same thing for things like financial services, that yes, consumers definitely use search as a way to find stuff like a mortgage, or a new checking account, or a mutual fund to invest in. But they also are starting to use things like NerdWallet or any of these comparison shopping sites that help you read stuff like reviews, or get a sense for who are the other players in this market. We just have such a much more informed consumer that we're trying to market to than ever before because of all these options that they have to find information before they even get on the phone or meet in person with your sales rep or with whatever the form of buying your product or services.
Well, I know you guys refer to this as discovery marketing, but
Yep.
do you think this is more indicative of the way channels have progressed, maybe more of the way that Amazon is leading people through a search journey, or do you see it more of where the channels are responding to changing consumer behavior and how consumers want to search?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I do think that the channels that are most tuned into consumer behavior have done a really good job of positioning themselves in a way that is most useful to the consumer. I'll tell you, one example that I really like is Pinterest, who doesn't always get a ton of publicity.
Pins
But
live forever.
they have done some really interesting things around visual search, where you're able to use the Pinterest app to search for something and be able to find things that are relevant. Same thing with what Amazon has done with their own search engine, where you use Amazon to find a product, and that result that you get is so much different than what you would get on Google, where it is more visual, where it is more detailed, in the click-through even, where you land on a product page that has stuff like reviews or product comparisons or just such granular detail about the dimensions, the size of this particular product. So I think that's where a lot of these channels and platforms have sort of identified where there are small weaknesses in Google and making it their core strength of how people research and find on their platform.
So there's just no hope for Yahoo to come back.
I don't know. I don't think that. I think they're kind of they're a little bit behind.
A little
these days.
bit.
It's kind of it's crazy. It's crazy how much some of those other competitors have really fallen off.
Well, you look at Pinterest. I mean, Pinterest could easily surpass them, at least as far as user experience goes. So,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Let's talk about the trends you're seeing in ad spend. Where do you see ad spend going today, this year, in digital spend, especially in paid search?
So there's a couple of things that are going on in terms of spend. I think number one, this is actually research that Forrester will be publishing sometime in February. It's our 5-year digital marketing forecast. So it'll size the paid search, display advertising, social, video, and email marketing categories. We'll size those between now and 2023, I believe, is the year. And for the paid search forecast specifically, we're actually seeing the slowest compound annual growth rate that we've ever seen in the 15-plus years of sizing the paid search market. The reason is that, as we kind of all know, paid search has just gotten so huge. It's so mature at this point. You have advertisers that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year on paid search, and a lot of them are hitting this point of diminishing marginal returns, where they're just not getting the same bang for their buck for the next dollar that they were the previous dollar. And I think what that's forcing is that you're having advertisers, and I would say a lot of them are more advanced advertisers that are spending that much in paid search because they've been doing digital for a long time. They're now considering moving, and this is not just paid search. This kind of applies for the entire digital advertising mix. They're considering putting incremental dollars that they would have for search or display or social, and putting that into things like data or innovation or technology, areas to truly make their businesses more of a digital business, and to help the customer experience, help create experiences that are seamless across channels for their consumer, and indirectly, I think, helping their advertising, helping creating experiences that are better when it is, regardless if it's advertising or organic or events, or sponsorships, whatever. So I think that's one really big trend that we're seeing. The other trend that we're seeing that is propping up paid search growth going forward, because we're forecasting about a 9% compound annual growth rate for paid search. The thing that's propping that up is actually coming from the small and medium-sized areas of the market, which is a little surprising. You're having more small businesses and medium-sized businesses starting investing more in paid search than they ever have before. And I think the reason is that a lot of these guys are finally starting to come online more with their marketing strategies. The other thing is that they're finding opportunities for good efficiencies in paid search because of the more granular targeting that you're, maybe not even granular targeting, but just better targeting capabilities where you can actually get some good efficiency by doing things like localized paid search advertising. So that is a really interesting trend for me, because for enterprise marketers, what that means is we're going to be facing more competition in paid search, if you can believe it. There's going to be more than just your main competitors that are going to be buying paid search ads against you. It's going to be more local businesses, more smaller businesses that are trying to vie for a share of wallet from consumers.
One of the things I think people have seen, and I think that's also another reason why they're curbing that spend. One, we've got more capabilities with targeting, and there are a lot of companies who are just doing a better job with attribution instead of just letting everybody spend like a drunken sailor. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the larger companies are not going to be, just blindly spending that much more year over year over year. But where do you see ad spend going against specifically TV? I know I've heard you and others from Forrester speak about TV. I've heard a lot of people speak about TV and how digital spend is outpacing TV spend. But you're also seeing a lot of growth, especially in the addressable and advanced TV functions or advanced TV type spend today that you didn't even have 5 years ago.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that trend of digital outpacing TV dollars. However, I don't think advertising in TV is ever going to go away in the short term, because there are just still so many eyeballs that are there.
Yeah.
You look at P&G and what they did a little over a year ago with pulling a lot of their ad spend out of Facebook and saying they're going to invest more in TV. I don't think that is a one-off, one brand specific example. I think that there are definitely other brands that have said to themselves, we can just reach people in a better moment through TV than we're able to through other digital channels. The thing that's changing with TV, with it becoming more addressable, more online, more fragmented of an experience, is that I think that there's a lot of companies that are trying to vie for the TV advertising space. So if you look at someone like AT&T, who has done quite a bit of acquisition to try and bring in more ad dollars from the TV ecosystem by buying DirecTV, creating their own, buying AppNexus, buying Warner Media that they did last year. They are only missing. They're really like one piece away from becoming the true modern TV stack. And we said this in our predictions report from late last year that one of the acquisitions we think would happen in 2019 would be AT&T would buy Roku. And what Roku would do for AT&T is open them up to this streaming capabilities that they currently don't really tap into very well. Roku is just such a large and very connected to so many TVs ecosystem that I think that there would be so many good efficiencies that would come of that potential acquisition for an AT&T and for the advertiser too, where they're able to use one platform to really be able to advertise through many different forms of linear, addressable TV, and still be able to reach a significant share of households.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit then about how ad spend is changing, other than AT&T, but other M&A activity. What are the other types of trends that you're seeing in ad spend due to M&A?
Yeah, I think one acquisition that I think could be very, well. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back up before I go into
Sure.
one acquisition. I'm going to say for the way that ad spend I think is going to change over the short term, Facebook is a really interesting specimen. Obviously, owning WhatsApp and Instagram and Messenger, I think Facebook is going to put more pressure on those non-Facebook platforms, part of their business, to increase their advertising
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
revenues. So I think that they are going to have to lean much more heavily on Instagram. I think they're going to try and figure out how can we start to monetize WhatsApp, how can we start to monetize in a better way Messenger, and at the same time have to really balance and be careful about pissing off users, basically. I mean, think about WhatsApp, where they acquired them. The WhatsApp founders did not last very long at Facebook, and it has to be because they were thinking a lot about advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of the same with the WhatsApp user as well. If the experience is not right, then you lose those eyeballs, those people that are going to be kind of the foundation for marketers wanting to reach into those areas. So that to me is one area where I think you will see some changes in ad spend, where it's not just going to go to the Facebook platform, Facebook.com, but I think Facebook's going to put increasing pressure on their advertiser clients to invest more in Instagram, invest more in these other places that they own. The second thing that I think is really interesting, and this has to do with Google. I know we're talking so much about the duopoly, but that's the world we live in today. In Google, one of the things that I think might happen, and this is one of the acquisitions that we said as well could be on the docket for 2019, is Google winning a bidding war for LiveRamp. And our reasoning for why that would be really interesting is actually because LiveRamp obviously got spun off from
Acxiom.
the Acxiom acquisition
Right.
last year, where Acxiom was acquired by IPG. And I think that with LiveRamp being in its own independent company, with their identity resolution, their onboarding capabilities, it makes them a very valuable asset for basically any ad tech or martech company that's out there. We had a client call recently where a client was basically saying, and I love this quote because he's basically saying, like, LiveRamp is more than just this onboarder or this ID resolution provider. He was saying that if you're using a DMP for media activation, for instance, you don't need a DMP. Really, all you need is just LiveRamp.
Right.
So I think that there's a lot of interest in an independent LiveRamp from some of these other big cloud companies, even potential agencies. And I actually think that Google is the one that might sweep in and try and get them because, one, Google has the most amount of cash. Two, LiveRamp's data would be very interesting to have available in the new Google marketing platform. I think it would make it a really robust and attractive platform for any advertiser that is using Google in any capacity, whether it's YouTube, search, display, anywhere. And that's what Google's trying to do with the Google marketing platform, is bring in teams that they're not already working with within client companies and really have this be the single ad tech stack that you need and can use for all of your advertising, objectives.
I make jokes about Bing, but wouldn't it be interesting if they wanted to draw a line in the sand and really try to compete with Google and bought LiveRamp?
That would be really interesting. I mean,
that puts them up in juggernaut status.
Yeah, and it would not to sound mean, but it would bring Bing back to life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not that, I mean, they still have a solid advertising business, but really, we don't get many advertisers that are clients of ours asking about them at all. It's really Google, and that would be super interesting if they were one to sweep in and get LiveRamp. Just don't know if they have the capabilities to integrate LiveRamp into this broader ad tech stack.
So we talked a little bit about the duopoly, but really let's dive a little bit deeper into Amazon search, and Amazon is a powerhouse. And where do you see that in the 5-year plan, the 5-year research plan you put together with Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon is absolutely right now they are currently the number 3 advertising platform in the digital ad space, and I don't see them stopping, and the growth is going to be there from some time. If you fundamentally break Amazon's advertising business down into two buckets of the search capabilities and the display and video capabilities, the search stuff is what's really grown their business, and I think that is what will continue to grow it in the short to midterm.
Mm-hmm.
It makes most sense. It's actually probably easier to use their search tools than it is to use their DSP.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And CPG companies have a lot of budget to move over from traditional shopper marketing into Amazon for search advertising purposes. So I think that will be the main growth engine. I think the DSP and video advertising capabilities are going to be more of the slow burn for Amazon. It will definitely help with growth. It will definitely help with margins. It'll definitely help with their growth in what they're calling quote unquote non-endemic brands,
Mm-hmm.
basically brands that cannot sell on Amazon. And that I think that's the area where they want to be very deliberate. They want to be very careful about how they use their audience data, how they meet with IAB standards, how they ensure stuff like viewability and placement of ads against content that no advertiser wants to be next to. That's all stuff that they're going to be very deliberate about, and that's why I think it's going to be a slow burn. I think it's going to be something that is going to take them some time, but they're going to be very pragmatic, and I think advertisers will come eventually simply because the data is so rich and so good. And really, you don't have, I mean, Amazon is e-commerce.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
They just attract so much consumer purchasing that no one else really has a handle on. And if you are any advertiser in any industry, your buyer at some level is using Amazon. So just being able to align those insights that Amazon has with your own, I think, can be really powerful.
Then let's switch a little bit and talk about what you're seeing in the value of SEO. I've read several of your posts about SEO and several from Forrester. I've read or seen you speak about the value of SEO. I remember even you taking a conversation back with Citibank about how they were looking at SEO for a brand as, sort of as a branding tool. But talk about what you're
Yep.
seeing.
Yeah, no, I think, last year felt like it was, I can't believe I'm saying this. Last year felt like it was the year of SEO. We fielded more questions about SEO last year than we have in probably over 10 years. And I think the reason for that is a couple of different things are really driving this. One, I think, is voice. I think because the fact that most questions that people are asking, the answer is being provided through search results is driving a lot of this interest.
Mm-hmm.
I think number two is that there are more. I think there's this constant sort of cycle of companies that haven't really invested very much in SEO over the past 10 years and are now saying to themselves, we need to just get more bang for our buck from our marketing dollars. And SEO is still a great way to be able to drive people to the site, to be able to get them to buy, be able to get them to fill out a lead form, to be able to get them to find more information. And I think that sort of lack of investment and lack of resources they've dedicated is sort of coming back for some companies, where they're saying we actually need to put a little bit more oomph behind what we're doing on the website from a search perspective. And then the third thing I think is that more companies are starting to take parts of their marketing in-house, and SEO is a really but a really common area for companies to say, you know what, we can probably handle this internally. We can probably do a better job than our agency or consultancy is already doing, because we know our people best. We know our consumer best. We know our people that are working, behind the scenes best, whether it's web development, PR, social, all these different channels that need to be part of an overall SEO strategy. So those, I think, are the three big reasons for why we're getting more questions about it. When it comes to proving value, this is the real trick, and this is where I don't think many companies have actually figured this out, of what is the value of my SEO. We consistently hear the vast majority of companies say the biggest problem with their SEO program is that they can't measure the ROI. We just cannot. It's very very, very difficult to attribute ROI, to attribute sales to organic search. And I think the challenge, and what we're doing a little bit of research into right now, is placing a dollar value on what the number 1, number 2, number 3 organic search listing means. Like, what does it mean for you? What does it mean for your brand? And then also being able to use good web analytics data to be able to understand what was the value, what was the experience that person had on your site, and did they do what we wanted them to do, whether it was transact or just be able to take an action that we wanted them to take. So I see companies thinking about this in different ways. You pointed out the Citizens example where they're looking at SEO from a more of a branding position. I'm starting to see that happen more, where companies are saying, you know what, if we can't measure the ROI, we need to still invest in it. It's still important, but let's use a different set of metrics. Let's look at stuff like, how is this changing brand lift? How is this changing consideration? So that to me is interesting, and it actually gives me hope. It gives me hope that we as marketers can be a little bit more outside the box in our thinking, rather than just being very, very obsessed about performance and driving people to a sale. Yes, that is, we always want to be able to tie back to business objectives, but there is also a value to branding efforts. There's value to the brand. There's value to the way that people feel and think about your product, about your service. And if SEO can help with that, I'm all for trying to determine a way in which how SEO can impact the overall branding efforts that you have going on.
100% agree, because I mean, you've just got to rethink your metrics, though. As you said, even if it's branding, it's figuring out what you're going to track, other than just we got X number more site visitors. Well, that could be affected by a million different things, and it's really unfair for a lot of marketers to put nebulous numbers on nebulous expectations. And I do have hope, but don't you think a lot of this is also driven by, you said it was the year of SEO, but content marketing, which is something you can take in-house, is really, really pushing a lot of the traffic back in.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I think that's also why you're seeing more investment in SEO. I guess I left that one out. That content marketing has become such a huge objective for so many companies.
Agreed.
And SEO is a major driver into figuring out what is the content we need to be creating, what are the creative experiences we need to be creating for our customers. And I see more and more companies that are thinking about how can we use data and information and insights from search to inform our content objectives.
So let's talk about one other subject that I know you have a particular interest in. It's one that I just did a big show on. Talk a little bit, if you will, about where you're seeing voice search today and how it's maturing in the marketplace, especially within relation to spend.
Yeah. So to a degree, spend is actually shifting a little bit from search into voice. Mm-hmm. And there's really two primary things you can do with spend in voice today. One is, like I said, investing more in SEO, since search engines are a huge part of how these intelligent agents, as we are calling them, Google Assistant, Alexa, Siri, etc., how they are giving information, how they're giving answers to consumers is through those search engines. The other area where I think more investment is actually going is into skills or actions, as you would call them in Google Assistant, basically the apps for intelligent agents. So we are seeing some marketers shift money into those areas and trying to invest in finding ways where they can engage their customer through this new format. With all that said, what we see going on within voice is still very, very early days. There are tons of these intelligent agents everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about anyone who has a mobile device today, anyone who has a smartphone, has a intelligent agent embedded in that phone. If you're using your iPhone, you have Siri. If you're using Android, you have Google Assistant. And then you add on top of that, there are so many of these speakers that are now in the marketplace. I know in 2017 alone, there was over 10 million Amazon Echo Dots sold. So there's just so many of these devices. The problem is that people are not using them in very commercial ways. People are using them. They're using them to do stuff like check the weather, set an alarm, turn off the lights, play music. But we have not found in our research that that consumers are actually using these for commercial purposes of asking stuff like, I don't know, running shoes under $150,
Right.
or something like that. We're just not seeing that. We're not seeing that happen, and until that starts to happen, I don't think that we will see paid advertising in intelligent agents until then. I don't think that we will see brands investing very heavily in voice search. I do think it will happen. I think it's actually going to take some time, more time than probably anyone is willing to bet. My guess is probably 3 to 4 years until consumers actually start using their intelligent agents in a more play on words here, intelligent way.
Yeah.
And we're doing a really cool piece of research right now to back up my claims. We are doing what we're calling right now preliminarily a voice search tracker.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what that means is across 6 different industries, CPG, financial services, healthcare, auto, and what is my other one? Travel and hospitality. We are asking questions within each of those industries, just random questions you can think of for anything in those industries, like what is the cheapest hotel in New York City tonight? Or where can I? Who's the mechanic in my area that's open latest? Or what kind of toothpaste is organic? Stuff like that. We're just asking questions that are industry specific, that are commercial in some way, and seeing and tracking what the intelligent agents answer back to us. My hypothesis is that they actually cannot answer most of those questions. They'll revert you back to the internet. They'll say, here's some stuff we found online, go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll revert us maybe to an app. But that experience is still not one where we all kind of think it is today, where it's question, answer.
Yeah.
I don't think we're actually at that point today where they're giving answers, but I do think that we will get there, and I think those answers, hopefully, will actually be relevant and contextual to the person that's asking them.
Well, I know the last time I saw you speak, you brought up one of Tom Fishburne's brilliant Marketunist cartoons about Kleenex versus tissue, and instead of Kleenex, it finds the weather in Phoenix. But to voice search, and this may go along, and I'd love for you to think about this in your research. Part of this is also the power of certain brands, and those brand names. It's kind of like saying, if you're going to order something on Amazon, if you're going to order a pizza, is a bad analogy I often use, but you're gonna order a pizza from the pizzeria that you know the best and you like. Could be a small name, could be a large name, could be Pizza Hut, but you're going to ask for something specifically like Kleenex, which is a brand name, not a product name, as often or more than you would this, strictly what type of product or service you're trying to get. And I think that's really going to play, for certain things it may not, like with a hotel, unless you're looking for a particular experience like the Waldorf, as opposed to, a generic Holiday Inn Express or a Courtyard Marriott. But that I do think is going to continue to evolve a little bit with voice search, and it helps marketers understand the power of brands as well. So my 2 cents anyway.
Absolutely.
So, Colin, I'm going to have to get you back on the show because there's so much more we could have covered.
Absolutely.
With email and paid social in a lot of detail. I mean, we didn't even get to touch on programmatic, but it is now that special time in the show. Are you ready for the 5 most important and interesting questions that you're going to be asked today?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. Search marketing or discovery marketing? You've got to pick one.
Discovery marketing.
Good company, man. Facebook or Amazon?
Amazon all the way.
Paid search or voice search?
Paid search.
And we're talking about the future with this one. This is an odd combination I came up with. Bing or Pinterest?
Wow. That is an interesting combination. I'll tell you that's one that we never get questions together on.
Exactly.
I'm going to go with Pinterest.
I would too, because of how it can evolve, with its search capabilities and with
No,
the pictures.
Yes, their visual capabilities are really, really impressive, and I think the one thing they haven't done a good job on is marketing it.
Absolutely.
They haven't marketed it well at all to get people to start using it. If you actually do use it, it's really impressive.
Agreed. So number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Ooh, biscuits.
Okay. So, it's a question I often ask people in New York or in Manhattan. Where is the nearest Cracker Barrel? Nowhere
That
near.
is a really good question.
New
'Cause
Jersey.
I know that there's one in Connecticut.
Yeah, exactly. So Colin, where can people find out more about you, read your thought leadership, do some research as well on you?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter, LinkedIn, but also Forrester.com is probably another place you can kind of check me out and see some of the blogs that I posted. And if you're a Forrester client, be able to access my research. So those are the best avenues.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colin, for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thank you. Perfect.
So there was my conversation with Colin Colburn, an analyst with Forrester, one of the most influential research and advisory firms in the world, and he's a subject matter expert on research focused on paid search, SEO, Amazon advertising, and voice. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, consumers today are using a lot more options to search. Colin and the team at Forrester call this approach discovery marketing. As he says, we have a much more informed consumer than we've ever had before, and that should be reflected in how we market to them. And as a marketer, I would challenge you not to only look at how you search. That sometimes is what can hold you back. Do the research, and then look and see at how your customers got to where they are in the funnel. Second, when talking about predictions for paid search, Colin says that we're going to see more competition now from many of the local and smaller businesses trying to vie for a share of a consumer's wallet. He says that a lot of them are getting in because of the better targeting. Third, TV, or what many call TV today in air quotes, isn't dying as quickly as many of us have heard. It's definitely shifted dramatically, but you still see brands continuing to expand into TV with addressable and advanced strategies. Quite simply, though, it's a powerful medium. You've just got to leverage data and your knowledge in it to succeed. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. It's been my honor to spend this time with you in order to discuss another one of the many components that makes up marketing today. So do the research and you'll simply find that you won't find a better show. So join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.